So we are coming to you from the Police Operations Center, and I'm joined today by some of our community's finest. We have a number of public safety leaders, including from the Colorado Springs Fire Department, the Pikes Peak Office of Emergency Management, and the Colorado Springs Police Department. This is their headquarters. We have sworn and civilian staff from the Communications Center, the Training Academy, and Traffic Unit. And why are they all here? Is because today's press briefing is going to focus solely on what I believe is not only my number one responsibility as mayor, but also the core mission of local government, and that is ensuring the safety and security of our city. It is also fitting that today is Police Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week and Wildfire Awareness Month, so there's lots to talk about, and let's get started. I'll be organizing my remarks into four key areas: staffing, innovation, enforcement, and preparedness and prevention. So let's talk about staffing. To the sworn and civilian members of the Colorado Springs Police Department, please know that your mayor sees you. I honor you, and I thank you for your work every day and every night. Because of your courage, dedication, and sacrifice, our community is a safer place to live, work, play, and raise a family. On Tuesday, I had the incredible privilege of attending the Blue Mass at St. Mary's, where people of various faith traditions gathered in unity to pray for the protection of our first responders. It was such a meaningful ceremony. I even had the opportunity to say a few words. And tomorrow I will stand with many of you at the Peace Officers Memorial, one of the most solemn and powerful ceremonies held in our city each year. These moments are not just ceremonial. They are powerful and they remind us of the weight of the badge and the lives behind it. At the Blue Mass Memorial, I actually met a lady whose husband passed away in the line of duty of 2001, and I just hugged her because of it. Just that moment was so special for her, our family, and also for the city. You see, our officers put themselves in harm's way to protect us, and to do that, they need strong support, not just in words, but in staffing, resources, and community trust. And that is why the Colorado Springs Police Department has made officer recruitment a top priority. Since I took office in June of 2023, we have hired 222 new officers, each moving directly from the Police Training Academy to patrol. So active duty on our streets. So community, we hear you and we're delivering. Looking at the staffing trends over the past 7 years, it is clear that our city has been intentional in funding additional sworn positions. This is a strategic effort to keep pace with our city's growth and maintain public safety as the highest standard. Last year, we added 20 new positions, bringing our full strength to 839 police officers, and that's the yellow line that you see on the chart. And I'm proud to share that earlier this month, thanks to our current recruit class that started about a month ago, we crossed a very important milestone. Colorado Springs now has more than 800 officers for the first time in the city's history. That said, staffing numbers do fluctuate due to retirement and resignations. Actually, a retirement was just here last week, and now that number is 799. Thanks, Dave. As shown by, but we celebrate Dave's retirement, but we're now at 799. And while this progress is worth celebrating, we also recognize that we're not even close to where we need to be. To meet the needs of a growing city and deliver the level of public safety that our residents expect and deserve, we must continue to grow our authorized strength of sworn officers. You see, when we compare ourselves to similar-sized city, it is clear that your city government is operating lean, and that's really important for us to point out. Albuquerque has 1,140 officers. Mesa, Arizona, similar size, 979 officers. Omaha, and they just elected a new mayor yesterday, and they have 906 officers. So if we're truly serious about public safety and about our strengthening our ability to enforce the law and respond to emergencies and prevent worst-case scenarios, then we must stay committed to investing and growing our public safety workforce. One area that I'm keeping a particular close eye on is the Public Safety Communication Center. And just last month, we celebrated National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, recognizing the incredible women and men who serve as a critical first point of contact during emergencies. And I'm proud to share that we're now at the closest we've ever been to full staffing in the communication center since 2016. That's a big deal. When I took office, we had 79 staff members. Today, that number is at 107. And 107 people working in what I believe to be one of the most high-pressure environments imaginable to serve you, our residents, better, faster, and more efficiently. And the real progress, and it's as is shown in the data and incredible work of Chief Vasquez, his command staff, and many of the team members here who are working with me to ensure that Colorado Springs becomes one of the safest cities in the country. Now, and that brings me to my second area of focus, innovation. One way where we are expanding our capacity to serve without overextending our resources is by using technology as a force multiplier. Two great examples are the Real-Time Crime Center and the Drone as a First Responder program. Launched last year, the Drone program allows the police department to respond to certain calls more quickly and efficiently and improve the public and officer safety in real time. You see, our drones assist patrol officers and can even handle non-criminal incidents on their own, saving time, resources, and freeing up our officers to respond to more urgent calls. And the results speak for themselves. You see, the average drone response time, it's impressive. We're talking 2 minutes and 12 seconds. In 83% of those deployments, the drones are the ones that have the first eyes, real-time visuals, providing real-time information to our officers before they arrive. And in 20% of these calls, the drone was able to resolve the calls without the need to dispatch an officer, which saves us more time and resources. And this year, we do plan to expand the drone program even further. I'm also excited to share that we have recently brought the Real-Time Crime Center and the Communication Center here in the same location, both co-housed in this location, because this will improve the communications between those teams and helping the entire system operate more effectively and smoothly. Our fire department, like I said, our award-winning fire department, is always saving lives through innovation, and most notably, the Whole Blood program. In its first year of the program, it was used on 84 patients at an 82% survival rate. That means 69 lives were saved. That's 69 families who got to hug their loved ones again. And the most common reasons for the Whole Blood program is traffic accident. Now, turning on to traffic safety and enforcement, another area where innovation is making a difference, we deployed Photo Red, a red light camera program aimed at reducing violation, crashes, and injuries without costing city fund because the program truly pays for itself. These cameras serve as a force multiplier, helping officers focus on more critical needs while still holding our drivers accountable. And it's working because 18 of the 20 intersections with Photo Red, we've seen traffic accident decrease and some significantly. Nearly 1,500 fewer red light tickets were issued compared to last year, showing that driving behavior is improving. Citywide, the data is just as encouraging. Traffic accidents are down 10%, injury accidents are down 29%, and as of May, we have only had 10 fatal accidents compared to 18 at this time last year. The biggest reason is you, the drivers of Colorado Springs. You are making smarter, safer choices behind the wheel, and it is saving lives. Now, let me be clear. Our police officers would rather educate and engage and encourage voluntary compliance than write tickets. We're not here to punish. We're here to protect. Number 3, enforcement. You see, while we always aim for education and voluntary compliance, when laws are broken, make no mistake about it, we will enforce them because safety and accountability to the rule of law matters. In Colorado Springs, we will uphold the rule of law to keep our families, our streets, and neighborhoods safe. 2 of the most common concerns that I hear from residents are speeding and expired license plate tags. Let's talk about why this matters. Speeding is the #1 cause for traffic accidents. And let's be honest, if people don't believe that there's a chance they will get caught, there's no way they're slowing down. That's why I'm proud to report that traffic tickets are up nearly 12% over the last year, including citations for speeding. We're also cracking down on expired tags, an issue that is becoming a real frustration for so many. So far in 2024, the Colorado Springs Police Department wrote nearly 1,900 tickets for expired plates. And just last month, thank you, Chief Vasquez, we launched a 7-day enforcement campaign between April 20th and the 26th and wrote about 409 tickets in that week alone. These targeted efforts are working, and you can expect more of them ahead. Because when enforcement is fair and consistent and visible, it creates a safer and a more respectful community for all. The 4th, last but not the least, let's talk about prevention and preparedness. Like I said earlier, May is Wildfire Awareness Month, which makes it a perfect time to focus on how we prepare as a community. This week, our fire department launched its Living with Wildfire Town Hall series. These events are a great way for residents to learn how to protect themselves, their homes, and their families. At these town halls, you will hear how to prepare for a wildfire. Number 2, what to include in your emergency plan. And number 3, how evacuation works and how you'll be notified in a case of a wildfire emergency. I have personally attended one of these sessions myself, and it's inspired me actually to revisit my own family's emergency plan. And I encourage every one of you to take advantage of this free and valuable resource. And I want to thank our Division of Fire Marshal, which has turned $20 million in retained TABOR funds into real progress on wildfire mitigation. That's a big deal. Because of your support of Ballot 2D in 2021, we are now mitigating and reducing wildfire risk on 500 more acres per year in areas like Stratton Open Space and Fisher's Canyon and Palmer Park and Blodgett Open Space. And with new equipment and a strong in-house team, we are preventing fires and protecting homes. A major part of this work is advanced evacuation planning. At the Pikes Peak Office of Emergency Management, as they shared earlier this year, we're taking a data-driven, local-focused approach that builds lessons from past wildfires. And thanks to this new technology, we are now able to play around with different scenarios and with multiple different inputs to ensure the safety of our residents. And thanks to the strong leadership, especially from Andrew Notbaum from the Emergency Management Office, we are improving our ability to respond quickly and respond effectively in the case of a crisis. And the core of this work is one simple truth. This is about saving lives. This is also about building long-term resilience through innovation and teamwork. So in closing, everything that I've shared with you today, from staffing, innovation, to enforcement and preparedness, is part of this bigger vision of making Colorado Springs one of the safest cities in the country. And he said, we are aligning our public safety efforts to what matters most to our residents. We're listening and we're responding. So, fast and reliable emergency response, we hear you. 2, laws that are fairly enforced. We hear you. 3, protection from crime and natural disasters. We hear you. And 4, prevention whenever it's possible, and we hear you. Please know that as your mayor, I will continue to put public safety first, because at the end of the day, make no mistake about it, a great city is a safe city, and a safe city is a great city. Onward and upward. Thank you. Now I'm going to open up for your questions, and I have an incredible team of public safety leaders here who are going to help answer some of these questions as well. Yes.
Hi, Mayor. This may be a question for Chief Vasquez, but 800 officers, part of the department, how were you able to get to that number?
I could answer that, but I also want you to hear from my team. Yeah, Chief.
Well, thank you. So I think one of the biggest things that we've done is we initiated, and I think I see Heather Edwards in the room here, standing in the back. Heather and her team, she's the HR manager for CSPD and soon to be promoted here shortly to a director position. But Heather and her team came up with a process for continuous hiring. So in the past, what we used to do is we would, like many agencies across the country, we would put out an announcement for hiring. And it could take about 11 months. So we would stop taking those applications after a particular period of time. Now, you can apply for the next academy or the one after that 365 days a year. So a continuous hiring process. And starting in July of 23, we started doing 4 academies every year. So for really a year and a half, we did 6 academies. Now coming into this year, we slowed that down just a little bit, but the continuous hiring process truly was one of the best things that we did, not only for our sworn officers, but for our communications center. That's how we've seen them climb up in numbers. So that, along with a lot of recruiting strategies that Heather and her folks changed, made a huge difference.
And a quick follow-up, obviously hiring officers, it only matters if you can keep them too, right? So tell me about the department's retention rate and how you're keeping officers happy. And
yeah, we're doing a lot in that effort. We have a lot of committees that we bring officers to, so we can listen to those officers and see, what kind of changes would they like to see. Anything from simple things like we initiated a particular vehicle that ended up being too large, right? It ended up being a vehicle that was very difficult to maneuver through, high-speed chases and things like that. So we listened to them, and we've changed the vehicle type. A lot of different efforts internally to bring them to the table and really listen to what they're doing. So far this year, our attrition rate is about 3.5 coming into the end of April. So we'll watch that very carefully. By the end of last year, I think we were over 7 officers by the end of last year per month I'm talking about. So the attrition rate, paying attention to what our officers want and need, and really trying to get community support behind us, I think means the world.
Chief, following up on that, we talked to you maybe a year and a half ago. You talked about adding more officers, and I'll say another substation out east where the city's developing. But you said you weren't going to get there or move there until you hit your number. We're almost at that number. Is there talk or plans to start acquiring land or property and developing that, at least as a long-term goal?
Actually, there is. So we don't have a date yet. We don't want to project out a date. 839, if we can get to that consistently, we have to remember that a lot of those are in the academy. But I believe part of the recruiting efforts truly will be that amazing training complex that I think we're getting close to. So with that then comes a promotion of 16 officers for fulfillment of all of the ranks that need to be in that substation. That's really what I'm watching. So when we look at our call response times and things like that, that's going to help us trigger that, but we are in the talks with the mayor about getting that land for our next substation.
as we talk about hiring and staffing today, what benefits will the average citizen see with more officers on the street?
Well, I think as the mayor really talked about, he talked about the number one need or the number one request by our citizens is traffic enforcement. So a great example of what you're talking about is our motor unit. So we have 23 authorized positions in our motor unit. They write a tremendous amount of tickets. we've been down on motors for, I think we were down 6 and 8 officers in our motor unit. Now we're only down 3. So we've been able to increase something like our motor unit to get out there, write more tickets, really be more present, which slows people down. Now we're seeing a benefit in a lot of different processes that come into play. And as we get more officers, we're able to do more things like that.
You just mentioned that you think you're getting close to having the new police training center. Where are things at with that process?
So we're still in discussions. I think my staff really is watching the response times, watching what's happening in the communications center. One of the things that's really helpful, without just kind of taking over here, is that we are approaching staffing and response in 2 directions, really. One is staffing increases. The other is how can we bring technology to bear? The mayor has been really supportive about looking at things like drone as a first responder, real-time crime center, and other things that make us more efficient. So can we approach our responses in 2 different directions? 1, by efficiencies in technology, and 2, by increasing that staffing. We'll watch both of those things and then make a determination when the right point of time is for that new substation.
And the event I'm coming from, I just did a town hall to a number of older Americans. It's a senior, it's Older Americans Month. Silver Key is hosting this event, and the reason why I bring this up is one of the comments from one of the our residents. She said, I'm noticing a lot of technology, especially around the photo red, and she commented that it is changing behavior and asked, are we going to have more of that in the city? And I just updated you that the good news is that the program pays for itself. It doesn't affect the city funds per se, but just hearing that from our residents and our ability to deliver on some of their needs when it comes to traffic safety is really important. And so expect to see more investment in technology to serve as a force multiplier to increase our effectiveness and our efforts. Yes.
I want to ask about Proposition 130, passed by voters back in November. Obviously, as you know, it creates that large pool of funding for law enforcement agencies across the state. Has the Colorado Springs Police Department seen any of that funding? Do you know how much you guys will get? What's the update on that?
Yeah, that's one I keep asking the governor almost every month. I don't know where we're at with that.
So actually in this legislative session, they had to do a process to determine what kinds of uses that money could be used for. So what ended up happening was a date in time, which is December of 2026, that's when the money will probably be dispersed. So we've got a little bit of time before it's actually dispersed. They did clean up the process and determine what that money could be used for. So we're right now working through what we might use it for to present to the mayor, and December of 26 is about when we can start seeing that money.
I can tell you, I have not seen what we can use it for, but one of my biggest interests is ensuring that we're investing in technology, again, to serve as a force multiplier for both our police department, also with our firefighters as well.
Maybe you guys have addressed a couple different questions already, so I kind of want to ask something a little bit off to the side, but while we do have some first responder and emergency response folks in here. Just yesterday, the city's Planning Commission board approved at least the first step of a 100 kilowatt battery plant to be stored along a pretty busy road, kind of near a railway. Some residents in that area are concerned about the fires that have come from those types of battery plants. We've seen in other states recently this year in California. Just maybe while we have fire or first responder people here in the room, I'm just curious if that would be something like that would be a concern with having to contain battery-driven fires, which are pretty typical, for at least my understanding.
Chris Cooper, Fire Marshal. We are aware of battery energy storage systems. We've worked very closely with Colorado Springs Utilities as they work with their vendors to deploy those throughout the city. The technology that is going into those is different technology than what we're seeing in some of the more consumer-ready electronics and batteries. And so it is very much more of a stable platform. There's been fires in the past, you're correct. A lot of lessons learned from that. The battery manufacturers have stepped up, made some changes. Those systems come with a lot of safeguards, and we are training our firefighters through a committee that we have to look at energy storage systems to make sure that our response is appropriate for those. and that the fire protection systems that are built in are appropriate as well.
Just really quick, is there any concerns, however, with some of what we've seen as like the kind of the aftermath, the residual effects of some of those chemicals and those technologies that when they do burn and kind of put out into the air, we've seen kind of larger areas around plants like those kind of see some potentially dangerous lasting effects? Is that at all?
Certainly, anytime there's a fire, those products of combustion and the chemicals that are put off are a hazard, not only to people but to the environment. The goal is to provide prevention measures ahead of time to really prevent those types of activities from occurring, and then obviously our hazmat team and others would be involved should there be an event to make sure those things are appropriately addressed.
And just lastly, I know it sounds as if there wouldn't be any people monitoring that this facility. It would be all kind of automated from out of state. Would it be helpful or put you guys more at ease to have people there that could report stuff quicker should something unfortunately happen?
Actually, the automated monitoring that's built into these appliances is probably more effective than having people on site. Those are sealed containers, and so that automatic monitoring and detection within those units provides rapid notification to the control centers that could then dispatch us. So that's actually a safer opportunity for us than to have people on site.
Interesting. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have one more quick question, and this may have already been addressed. As far as the police department staffing, hiring more officers, are you focusing on putting more officers on specialized units like burglary, motor vehicle theft, or are you focusing on patrol?
That's a great question.
So I think we have to balance both of those. Our number one priority really is to ensure that our patrol officers are fully supported out there to the extent they can. However, when we think about our specialized units, that's where the investigations happen. That's where we have to ensure that the documentation, everything that the DA's office needs to provide a good case in court for support of our victims is also cared for. So almost on a weekly basis, probably on a weekly basis, Deputy Chief Rosenoff and Deputy Chief Koch over our specialized units and over patrol are meeting. And certainly every time there's a PTO class, a group that gets out of the field training, starts coming out, they'll sit there and balance out with a lot of input from other staff where to put the majority of those officers coming out every single time. In this particular case, as an example, the vast majority of people going out of this PTO class will go into patrol. Then DC Rosenoff will weigh in, which divisions are most in need. So it's almost a weekly conversation, but it's a balance to ensure that we're providing the best service to the public and to our victims.
Yes.
The city council recently, or just last Tuesday, they passed a resolution reaffirming Colorado Springs' status as a non-sanctuary city, and they said that one of the reasons was to help to make it the safest city in America, which you also addressed here. That's one of your priorities. But the nightclub raid happened when we were a non-sanctuary city, so I'm struggling to see how, I know resolutions are non-binding and sanctuary cities have a very fluid definition, but how is this going to help us become a safer city, and how is it going to help the police to do their jobs?
That's a great question. It's certainly within City Council's purview to make resolutions and statements of where they're placing their support and their values. I will tell you, with my first responders, especially the Colorado Springs Police Department, our community safety is top priority. For us, we will hold you accountable for criminal behavior. It doesn't matter if you're U.S. born, if you're a naturalized citizen like I am, or you are here legally, especially if you're here legally. If there's any criminal behavior, and that raid, there was several evidences, month-long operation that our incredible team did with many partners, and there was enough evidence for us to ensure the safety of that pocket of our city and truly the entire city. And so we're not in the business of, my team and I, we're not in the business of people's politics or political motivation, but understand that there's zero tolerance for crime in this community, regardless of who you are. We will hold you accountable. Yes.
Speaking of the nightclub raid, and we're talking about kind of crime, people who have been arrested, but there's also 80-some people who were caught in the raid who have not been charged with anything as of yet. Do you know what's happening with them, or do you think that's appropriate for where they are right now?
I can't speak to that. You probably need to reach out to one of our federal partners. And this is one of the greatness of America is, and when we talk about due process, a lot of that is still being in further investigation and due process. And so you would have to follow up with our federal partners because immigration is not in our purview at all. Yes, ma'am.
There were also, it was also said that there was prostitution and human trafficking, or people who were swept up in the raid were involved in both. So if there was prostitution happening at the club, what those people involved in prostitution are generally victims. So do you have any idea what's happening with them?
I don't. It's an ongoing investigation. Like many of our media partners know that these things take time, and a lot of it is due process. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about due process. That's exactly part of the greatness of our country. And so it's part of our ongoing investigation and things that we're certainly not privy to. And so you would probably have to check with some of our federal partners on some of those. Yeah.
You also said that you expect more enforcement actions like this at some point. Does that mean there are more nightclubs like this? And if not, where would those future enforcement actions?
If I told you, I'd have to kill you. I'm just kidding. No, we have an incredible police department. We've been doing this. I know this. What the community was brought into 2-3 weeks ago, I hate to put it this way, when it comes to the safety of our community, it's business as usual. We're constantly on the watch, working with multiple law enforcement partners to take down drugs and criminal and the drug cartel. And so when I say expect more raids, it's expect that we're going to take the safety of our community seriously and put an end to criminal behavior that affects families like mine. The number of people that reached out to me the next day after learning upon the news, and a lot of family members like mine, people raising young kids who are just full of gratitude, nothing but gratitude to our police department for that. And so, yes, expect more raids. Expect us to take the safety of our community seriously. Again, zero tolerance to criminal behavior, bottom line. Yes, ma'am.
The police department told us that they received 138 calls since March of 2022 to that location of the underground nightclub. I think a lot of people in the community are curious to know why it took until 2025 to do so.
And there's been a lot of misinformation around the numbers, and I'm actually going to invite Chief Vasquez to speak to it and also to give you an understanding of the process of, because a call comes in doesn't mean we may necessarily have the authority to just go there right away. But I'll allow Chief to weigh in further on that.
Yeah, so as the mayor suggested, there really is a lot of misinformation on the calls for service. That particular after-hours club had only been there for a short time. It had moved to different locations in the city. But when we talk about calls for service at an address, 123 Main Street, what that may entail, for example, if an officer is doing a traffic stop, they have to use an address, so they'll call out 123 Main Street so that everybody knows where they're at. Or if there's medical calls, some of those calls were for the fire department and medical calls. If an officer's doing some proactive activity looking for stolen vehicles, they'll use that address. So when we do a query in our comm center through our systems, then all of the calls that use that address will show up. So the very specific ones, and I actually have those numbers and I didn't bring them with me, but the very specific numbers to that address and the nightclub are very small actually. Between 2024 and 25, there were about 23 calls for service. I think the number was, I think it was 17 and 5, with 5 being this year. So the actual numbers, and even those were not 911 calls to that address that were specific about crime happening inside the address. So the numbers were very skewed, reported out.
Okay. And to that point here, there were 16 crime pattern investigations, 6 calls for assault, harassment, threat, 5 narcotics investigations, 41 suspicious vehicle calls, 3 burglaries, 5 theft, 10 general disturbances since that 2022 date. Does that, I mean, hearing those numbers, should something have been done there before?
Well, but again, well, I guess if your question is about that specific business, the after-hours illegal nightclub, that wasn't even operating during the majority of the time you're talking about. So our officers are doing a lot of proactive work throughout an entire city. And those call loads, like if you query Tejon to Tejon from Cimarron to Boulder, I'm sure you're going to see this whole slew of calls within a particular area, and we do proactively approach them as good as we can, but that's a long period of time, and it could be multiple things dealing with completely different issues. Yeah.
When did the nightclub, the Warriga, when did it start operating in that location?
I can't speak to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We actually know
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, and happy National Police Week. Thank you all. Yep.